After finishing my summer's job as a house mover on Friday, I played around over the weekend and moved into ET's East Dorm the following Sunday afternoon. It was early September 1956. My first college roommate was Tommy Kelly, TK for short. We grew up together and graduated from Cattle Mills High School. Our room was located on the west side with a window overlooking what soon became my favorite haunt, the Student Union Building. The Sub, as it was called, was the hub on the campus. Here we enjoyed 50s music, dancing, sipping coke, smoking, and every kind of conversation imaginable. During my first semester at East Texas State Teachers College, I ate in the cafeteria, walked or hitched rides, attended most classes, spent time at the library, played intramural sports, and met many new friends. At this point, I was a typical college freshman, just happy to be there. I was one of the 2,160 students enrolled in East Texas State Teachers College during the fall semester of 1956. Having met many members of the Tejas Club while I was in high school, my choice of social club was easy. TK and I met many great guys that fall while pledging. Little did we dream we would all become lifelong friends. My future brother-in-law, Robert Stows Stiletsky, was one of them. The typical Tejas member was either a veteran or an athlete or both. Dr. Fred Tarpley was our faithful sponsor and friend. Beanie-clad, bright-eyed, cute freshman girls around every corner, constantly reminding me of the endless possibilities. However, since I did not have a car, dating college co-eds was limited to special occasions, so those endless possibilities had to wait. Settling into my first college semester, I found myself pledging Tejas, attending classes, hanging out in the sub while listening to Jimmy Reed or the Clovers, and playing intramural sports. The Christmas holiday arrived, the semester ended, and I returned to Cattle Mills, rejoining the house moving crew. Working through the Christmas holidays, I pocketed some extra cash and pronounced myself ready for the spring semester and the challenges of 1957. I said goodbye to East Dorm and the school cafeteria and moved due east down Greenville Street past the sycamore trees to 1911 Washington Street. On the corner of Greenville and Washington sat a small, one-room bungalow. It was just large enough for beds, a kitchen, and a bathroom. For 6 or 7 years, only Cattle Mills boys were invited to lodge in the bungalow. We shared cooking, dishwashing, and house cleaning duties. Our front yard was large enough for playing touch football, parking a few old cars, and hanging out. The rent was $15 per month, divided by the number of renters. Joe Johnson was the original person to find and rent the bungalow. One spring day, Burley Denton and Joe Blackwood drove into the yard in a 1946 convertible. One spring day, Burley Denton and Joe Blackwood drove into the yard in a 1946 Ford convertible, seizing the opportunity to show out in front of a group of hosses. Burley popped the clutch and gassed the convertible. The door flew open and he fell out. But Blackwood was so preoccupied with the dog and pony show, he didn't know the car was driverless until it hit the bungalow, doing extensive damage to both the car and the house. Tommy Gavin, Rex Lytle, Bobby Harper, Burley Denton, Joe Johnson, Tony Gavin, Roy Lee Rogers, and I, at one time or another, lived in the legendary bungalow. My newfound freedom as a college freshman presented me with many new eye-opening experiences. I learned what a 2-keg beer bust and an oak thicket on the banks of South Sulphur River was. How many ways can unbridled Texas youth get into trouble by crossing the Red River into Oklahoma? More than I have time or space to write in this sitting. I eventually found that English classes and wild oats are not compatible bedfellows, and the list goes on. Left jab, fake right cross, and left hook to the jaw. Bam! I had done it again. He was finished. It was my favorite combination and it usually worked. I had just completed my 44th boxing bout and won the 1957 Greenville Annual Golden Gloves Middleweight Championship. I was lucky. I had not worked out a single day as a boxer for 1 full year. That was very risky business. But at 18, I was bulletproof, so once again, I walked on the edge and got away with it. The hot shower knocked the smell of blood, sweat, and wintergreen off my young body. It felt almost as good as the satisfaction of winning another tournament. I stepped out of the locker room into the raucous crowd, and Bobby Harper, an E.T. and Cattle Mills buddy, met me near the door. He said, "We have a group of friends here from E.T., but that's not all." With an awestruck look on his face, tempered with a slight grin, he told me a cute little chick named Frances would like to see me at the north door. I knew she was Frances McNatt, but I had never met her. Sporting my beige leather jacket and my dirty white bucks, I picked my way through the rowdy crowd and arrived at the designated north entrance. We spoke, smiled, flirted, and worked our way through small talk. More than anything else, I tried to be cool. The next thing I knew, we were breezing through the February night in her 1957 red Oldsmobile convertible listening to old-time rock and roll. I drove back to the bungalow late that night in my dad's borrowed 1954 Chevrolet work truck. I quietly caressed my boxing trophy while thinking of the cute blue-eyed girl and thought, oh, what a night, and smiled contentedly in the dark, ultimately succumbing to wanderlust. Our 4 months of steady teenage romance came to a halt because I left town for the summer with 3 ET friends for Kentucky to work on the pipeline. At this point in my life, I was running, jumping, and prancing, much like a young buck, while throwing caution to the wind. I returned from Kentucky after Labor Day to begin the fall semester of 1957. I left the bungalow and moved into the Tejas house at 1322 Chestnut Street, rejoining my former roommate, TK. My 2-year tenure at the Hoss house, as it was sometimes called, was a blast, but my grade point average suffered. I listened as Mac Navarro described a fine-looking, well-dressed new freshman girl with dark brown, sporty duck-tailed hair, brown eyes, slender build, and a friendly smile. Mac had the gift for describing anatomy of a female student to perfection. I immediately became curious as one might expect an 18-year-old male might be. I met the pretty freshman girl with the sporty duck-tailed haircut, a few days later in the sub by accident. We met face-to-face in the pen, pencil, and paper aisle of all the places. Little did I know, standing there in the school supply aisle, how Earlene Pepper Granger would affect my life for the next 53 years.